Hello, what's happening everyone? William Johnson here, and this is another percussion tutorial. We're camping out on, that's it, you guessed it, shakers. So the last few episodes, we've been talking about shakers, how to develop your feel a little bit more. This is another video on shakers, and in this particular episode, what I want to do is talk about the difference between an 8th note feel and the 16th note feel. And every other thing in between a 16th note feel. Making it funkier, making it, all that stuff. Making it feel a little like it's jazzier, whatever you term, adjective you want to add to it. All right. I want to talk about that, but also independence, and show you a couple exercises to help you to be able to play something different with your other hand. So I have a practice pad here and a conga. Don't worry. It's got some nice felt on the bottom, so it's not going to damage the conga. I'm pretty particular about the things I put on my drums. However, I just want to show you an exercise so you can do stuff like this. So perhaps it's a cajon, perhaps it's a djembe, perhaps it's a conga, all right? But I want to show you some exercises that you can develop your ability to have independence and play things like this. It'll be some simple exercises, very simple, all right? Also, keep on the lookout because I am working on an ebook that will coincide with this series of playing shakers. Now, in the ebook, it's going to have a lot of pictures. It's going to be a short book. It's going to have a lot of pictures, but the majority of the book is actually a routine practice that you can use alongside this video series. Now you can read the book and have never watched the video and it'll still help you, but the idea is that I'm showing you how-tos, whereas the book is a how-to, but also, well, here's an exercise, here's a drill, templates for practice exercises like 5 minutes with the left hand doing this and 2 minutes on this and blah blah blah. So you can use that as a template for your actual workout, for your actual exercise and practice and development. So keep a lookout for that ebook. That'll be on my site, williamjohnsonmusic.com, but I'll put an announcement here on YouTube in the community section, but also a video where once I'm finished with it. That should be in the next several days. All right, so let's get into this. I'm going to use my metronome here. I got my metronome on. I had it on 16th notes. I'm going to change it back to quarter notes. Now, if I'm at 63 beats per minute, now we're in 4/4, meaning my high pitch beat changes after every 4 beats. Beep, boop, 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 beep, boop, boop, boop. Easy, fair enough, right? Okay, changes there. All right, so what I want to do is notice that my shaker is on every note, every number, every beat going forward. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So my 8th notes then are going to be going back, or what I like to call my upbeats. 2, 3, 4. In between each beat is another shaker note, and it's swishing in between. So you notice I'm playing a shaker note after the beat, in between the beeps. Okay? All right. Now, in another episode, we'll talk about being able to switch, turn the beat around so that you're playing on the upbeat, okay? But for this particular episode, we're just going to stay here, all right? Now, if I change this to 8th notes, it's the same tempo. But now each beat is on the 8th notes. So we're still at 63 beats per minute. Now that's really slow. A lot of the songs that I do that are more like ballads in the contemporary world, pop, CCM, gospel, jazz, whatever the contemporary situation, might be a little more between 70 something and 80, low 80s. So let's say we're at 76. Sometimes this is all that's needed, right? So let's change the beat now back to the quarter note pulse. But I'm playing eighth notes. And just playing an eighth note groove, right? As opposed to 16th note. Okay? Now, if I change this and keep the tempo, but change it to the 16th note, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. I didn't speed it up, I just changed the where the beeps are beating. They're beeping on every 16th note, but it's still at 76 beats per minute. And it is like swish, 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 swish. And if you can see the previous episode, how I gave some ideas, well, actually 2 episodes ago, and I'll put a description down below, where I talk about how I'm playing a full note, and I come back, and then I dip down, and back again. Ross Mcallum has a great video on this where he talks about how he does it long and then short, right? I'll put a link between his as well. Kalani has a great video where he uses a term, cacophony, right? Cacophony. I like pepperoni. And that's pizza, right? Got that idea from my friend Dale Baker, drummer who used to be a drummer for Sixpence None the Richer. He teaches up in Durham, North Carolina, and he has a great ebook where he uses these words for beginning drum students. And so I like pepperoni. Kalani does cacophony, pretty awesome. Ross Mcallum talks about how he's going the actual technical part that I've talked about in my video where I show you how I'm the actual movements technically of what I'm doing. Okay, that's in the previous episode. But basically, that's a 16th note style groove. Now, here's the thing though. That first note on each beep, let me change this back. That first note, every time I go forward, is not just a straight 16th note. It's a little bit longer. 1 E. These are straight 16th notes here. 1 E and a 2 E and a. But we're staying with the pulse. What I'm doing there is going. That first note is about right there. Okay? Sometimes it's like almost an eighth note. Sometimes it's a dotted 16th note. It depends how funky I want it to be in the feel. Because this is straight. But then this is what I was talking about where I was clapping. And that sometimes I do something in between those two. And so it's not straight this and it's not this. But maybe it's this. And there's a big difference between all of that. But when you get down here and just practice with the metronome, the very basics of making sure that your notes are right on there with that eighth note, quarter notes, 16th notes, then you start thinking mathematically and you're able to play all in between. And that combined with your dynamic peaks, low piano, mezzo, right? You know, forte, all of that, those dynamics combined with your ability to play around with the note values, right? Makes the feel what it is. And that's really what it comes down to, feel. Now, you don't have to know all of the music theory for your feel to be good. That's when it just comes down to listening, nonstop listening, and then trying to practice and then recording yourself and hearing yourself to see how close you are, right? But when you're able to understand what's happening here and get better at counting, then you can manipulate consciously instead of subconsciously what's happening. This is essentially what's going on when we talk about it's a feel, it's a feeling. There is an equation to it. There is a science to it. Now, sometimes we throw all of that out the door and we just go for it. But when we're new to this, for some people, this is just a help to see what is actually happening, okay? All right, I said all that for those that are going to be like, it's just a feeling. You don't need all that science. Well, some people don't understand what that means. What in the world does that mean anyway? It's a feeling, right? So, I mean, I say that too, but I'm explaining. I'm trying to give you some ideas here. All right. Now let's move on here from the 8th note idea to the 16th note and what's happening to some independence exercises. All right. So here we go. All right. I don't know why I took the metronome and took it down here. I'm going to put it back up here. All right. So I have still at 76 beats per minute, and I'm going to play straight 8th notes with the shaker hand. Let me slow it down here. 60. And then with this hand, we play quarter notes. Okay? That's why I put it over there. So I'm playing 8th notes with this hand in my left, the shaker, 8th notes, quarter notes with the right hand. That means every time the shaker goes forward, hand goes down on the drum. Bass notes. Let's play some bass notes, okay? That's what I'm doing here. You could play, snare or slap too, but let's just play right in the center there. Full palm. All right? Now, the next one, we're going to put these together, but just one at a time for right now. Both playing 8th notes. Forward, backwards. See? The hand's doing, the right hand on the drum is doing the exact same thing that the shaker's doing. When it goes forward, the hand goes down. When it goes backwards, the hand goes down. Now, let's put these two together. And this is how we're going to do it. Let me stop that real quick. We're going to play 2 bars of the first one. 8th notes, quarter notes. Then we're going to play 2 bars of 8th notes. 8th notes, 8th notes. All right? So what that means is the very first bar of the 3rd one, because you're doing 2. So when you get to that next one, you have to be right on it with your hands and change. So it's like this. Let me speed it up for explanation's sake so you can see what I mean. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. 8th notes. See that? Again. 2, 3, 4. Back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 8th notes. Sometimes this thing is what's difficult for some people when you get down to playing rhythms like this. Right? So this exercise is very basic for those that are new to playing with the shaker and have a hard time perhaps with playing a shaker with one hand and then on the cajon or the drums with their other hand. A lot of drummers might be able to do this right off the bat. But sometimes what happens is when you go from maybe the drum set to the cajon, sometimes it gets a little weird because you're in a different body position and the cajon's down here and you're playing. So if you're struggling with this, this is a good start to working on it. Now, the other thing, it's a good exercise to put them together. However, what it really comes down to is practicing with one hand at a time. Okay? Because if you're putting time together, if you're putting time in, minutes, hours, consistent with this, and then with this hand by itself, then when it comes time to put them together, it'll be easier. Now, be on the lookout for this ebook, because I'm going to put, just like I told you about this exercise, well, in the ebook, I'm going to give some ideas of how long to play these exercises. So there'll be a list of different exercises, but also how long or ideas. And then you can use that as a template to make it however long or short based on your schedule. All right. Now, so that's just a basic exercise that we can do. In the next one, we'll talk about some more, adding 16th notes. But for right now, we're just going to keep it really simple like that. And then you can switch hands, okay? So anyways, this is really cool hanging out with you, talking about shakers, the difference between the 8th note and the 16th note feel. Really basic stuff here. I'm trying to keep it as basic and simple in each lesson as possible. And then an exercise to start independence. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification. That way you'll be notified when the announcements come up and a new episode comes up and I get ready to talk about this ebook that I'm going to put out. So subscribe, and I'd love to hear from you as well. Let me know what you feel about this this in the comments below and get some feedback. And yeah, God bless you. Have a smile upon you. See you soon.